Hi everyone, so let's talk about 5 popular books that I hated, or strong word. Let's say very much disliked, or disliked a lot more than the people who seem to have loved it and hyped it up. I might have thrown one of these across the room because the ending infuriated me, and I think I DNF'd like 2 of these because they were boring me. So let's get into it. I'm going to start this from least amount of Goodreads ratings to the most amount of people who have rated this on Goodreads. So we've got Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I was really excited to read this. I also wanted to read Uprooted, which I still haven't. But I picked this up in the winter, and Spinning Silver is set in the winter, and so it's supposed to be a fairy tale retelling. Or like folklore inspired, and it's Jewish folklore, but kind of almost like Rumpelstiltskin-esque, but I didn't like it. One, there was, it was written in multiple POVs, but I had a hard problem distinguishing the different voices when reading this. In terms of like the style of the characters' dialogue was way too similar to one another, and it made it hard for me to tell people apart. I felt like the pacing of the book was very poor. The best part of the book was too fast, and there were other parts that just drug on all day. And it played into some tropes that I didn't like, and I thought it showed off some stereotypes and didn't really do anything with it to make it more interesting or to deconstruct any stereotypes, and I gave it like 1 star, I believe. The second book is The Raven Boys by Maggie C. Rotter. This, out of all the books on the list, is the one I'm most curious to reread, because I didn't hate it. I thought it was like, but I didn't get it. I kind of like left the book going, huh? What? I'm confused. That sums up my feelings about the book in general. I did really enjoy the spooky atmosphere, but I was confused from start to finish. I really couldn't tell you what happened, except there's a girl who may or may not be psychic. There's a Welsh king who lives in the ground, maybe. Clairvoyance going on. Spirits that are alive. And a posh boarding school. And 4 boys who wouldn't normally be friends but have this really tight friendship. And yeah. So I didn't like The Raven Boys, or thought it was alright, just because I didn't get it. I want to reread it, because it does sound like the kind of book that I would really enjoy, but when I tried to read it, I didn't get it. But so many people on here love it, and I wanted to love it. Then we have Cersei by Madeline Miller. I DNF'd this book because it was boring me. Point blank, it was boring me. I got to the point where Cersei's on the island and these men are coming to see her, and that scene where maybe the men don't leave the island in such great conditions or leave it at all. That's where I DNF'd. I didn't see what everybody else saw in it. Also, there was that particular section was extremely hard to read, and I didn't understand the justification for her actions. And yeah. So maybe, and that's probably one where my own life experiences make that particularly hard to read. Then we have The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This book pissed me off, and this was raved about on Booktube. And to be honest, up until the last fourth of the book, or like even the very ending, I was really enjoying it. I thought it was a very well-written thriller. However, its plot device, which is a mental illness condition of people who have been through particularly traumatizing experiences, and its depiction of those people, I did not feel like was appropriate. It infuriated me. And I really was like, how dare the author do that, right? How dare they? I was absolutely disgusted. And I didn't feel like it was realistic in that way. And that alone made me hate it, because I loved it up until like that last quarter. And it was a really page flying book. I just thought it was done in really poor taste at the end. Like, you could have chosen any other ending and I would have, at the very least, have enjoyed it. Then we have the last one out of the 5 that I've chosen to talk about today is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. I was somebody who did not finish the first book. I did not complete it. This is back like 2005. It was like 2008, my senior year of high school. Everybody was reading this, and my sister flew through these books. And my sister, to be honest, is not somebody who reads a book that doesn't have pictures in it. That's just not the kind of person she is. The idea of going to the library is like a terrifying experience, because like my mom and I joke, like, what are the words going to leap off the page and eat you? And up until that point, reading a book cover to cover that didn't have photos was not something she did. But she flew through these huge honking books about these glittery vampires. So I tried, as the supportive sister, to try to read this book, to converse with her and her best friend Kaylee. And I just couldn't, because the writing was so appalling to me. And the way she structured sentences, I just couldn't. And this is coming from somebody who's not like much of an English person, right? English language, constructing words together is not really my thing. I was never particularly gifted in like English as a subject in school. Not my thing. And I could not stand the writing style. So then, naturally, I went and saw the first movie with her, and then I saw the first movie of the 4th book with a guy that I was dating and friends with at the time in college. The movies, the first movie was really comedic. I actually thought the movie was better than the book that I couldn't get through. The glittery vampire portion book, where they're like up on the sun at the mountain and he's just like glittering like a disco ball, was absolutely ridiculous. But the movie wasn't as cringy as the book. The beginning of the 4th movie was a little bit creepy. And also, like, I had no idea what was going on because I hadn't seen the other, like, movies in the franchise. But I did enjoy that 4th one more, but I'm wondering if it's because I like the soundtrack to that first, like, because they split the book in half. If I just like the soundtrack to that more. So I have respect for the books for what they did for my sister and how they inspired so many people to get into books. What the series did for, I would say, like, the books in the YA marketing category, and how all of these authors were inspired to write, and the stories that we get to read today because of the amount of light that Twilight showed that, hey, like, children's books and YA fiction, by the way, these things sell, and there is a market for these books, and now there are good books being published and fun adventure stories, and these readers who these books are marketed toward aren't being ignored anymore, because it's been shown time and time again, but really starting with Twilight, that there's a market for this. So I'm respectful of the book and the franchise in that regard, just not the book itself, because it was not for me. Anyways, I'd like to hear what are some popular books or hyped books that you didn't like, and I will see y'all later. Bye, y'all.